Everyone knows Raphael Saadiq as the singer, songwriter, and producer behind acts such as Toni, and Lucy Pearl. He has been involved in the entertainment industry since the early 80s, but not much was known about his private life until recently. In several interviews, he has opened up about his early years, which were marred by multiple losses. This is what happened to him prior to making it big, and how those incidents still affect him today. Before we get started, don't forget to grab something to eat at rrgsnacks.com, our online concession stand that has an assortment of barbecue bacon jerky, nacho cheese popcorn, and strawberry licorice. Have you ever seen the 2002 Brazilian film City of God? Do you remember the boy with a camera who was always snapping photos? Well, Raphael compares himself to the boy and says he's the one that's always taking mental snapshots of his family's most traumatic moments. He added, "I feel like I always documented everything and nobody in my family ever talks about it." Raphael Saadiq was born as Charles Ray Wiggins on May 14, 1966, and grew up in the Bay Area. His parents had 14 children between them, but Raphael was the only child they had together. According to Blues and Soul website, by the age of 6, Raphael had mastered the drums and the bass, and not long after, his world came crashing down. In an interview with the Anna Sale podcast, Raphael shared that he experienced his first loss at the age of 7 when his brother Alvy lost his life over an incident involving $12,000. Raphael accompanied his dad to the scene of the crime, and when his dad, whom Raphael described as a tough guy from Texas, looked at his brother's face to identify him, he simply told the authorities, "Yeah, that's him." On the quiet ride back home, all Raphael could think about was avenging his brother's passing. At his brother's memorial service, his family members were all assigned to different limousines. Raphael said that ever since that day, he avoids limousines because they remind him of that devastating period of his life. He told Believer magazine after losing his brother, it was hard for him to be close to people. Music became a buffer between him and deep connections, and he lived inside the confines of the songwriting process, which became a source of self-healing for him in later years. At the age of 9, he landed his first professional gig as a bass player for a group called the Gospel Hummingbirds. Sadly, his family was presented with more battles. He told the New York Times his brothers Jimmy Lee and Desmond both struggled with substance abuse. Watching his brothers go through their issues kept Raphael on the straight and narrow, and he remained focused on making music. After graduating from high school, he played bass alongside Sheila E. and Prince. This was also around the time he started referring to himself as Raphael Wiggins. In the late 80s, he formed Toni with his half-brother Dwayne Wiggins and their cousin Timothy Riley. The group came together at a time when the sounds of hip-hop and R&B were fusing. But what helped them stand apart from the rest was their talent and their ability to play live music. A year prior to the release of their 1988 debut album, Raphael's brother Desmond, dealing with the shame of being unable to kick his substance habit, took his own life in their father's apartment. In his mind, Raphael still holds the image of him and his family cleaning up the aftermath. As they began working on their second album entitled The Revival, Raphael told the New York Times his sister Sarah backed out of her driveway and into the path of a police chase. The suspect's car collided with her car, and sadly, she lost her life. Raphael said that after receiving the news, he walked back into the studio and recorded the lyrics to the song It Never Rains in Southern California. The Revival was released in May 1990. Thanks to that song he recorded on that unfortunate day, as well as the track Feels Good, the album was a commercial success. The 90s brought more heartache, though. Raphael's brother Jimmy Lee contracted HIV and passed away from a heroin overdose. Raphael told Anna Sale's podcast he never cried over losing his siblings. Going to therapy wasn't an option either because he said that at the time, receiving professional help wasn't something that was talked about in the Black community. He decided to keep the pain locked away. and told Sway in the Morning, "I did it to kind of show people you can have some real tough things happen in your life, but you don't have to wear it on your sleeve." But was he taking the right approach? Or would he have to eventually face the agony head on? Raphael recorded Me and You for the Boys in the Hood soundtrack, but he was told the track needed to be listed as a Toni song. As a group, they released 2 more studio albums and numerous hits like If I Had No Loot, Let's Get Down, and Anniversary. They also received 2 Grammy nominations. When Raphael recorded the song Ask of You for the Higher Learning soundtrack, he was told once again that the song needed to be credited as Toni. This time, he refused. He told the Breakfast Club he demanded that they list him by himself, which, at that point, he had adopted the surname Saadiq, and the higher-ups finally agreed. Raphael told Sway in the Morning he didn't want to go solo, but he felt like the industry was destroying the group. He added, "And I just said, you know what? I know the Tonys is really big, but I'd rather have my brother than have us be having some feud over money or anything like that."
I think we did Jay Leno, David Letterman, so, some VH1 joint, and then I came home and sat on the piano and never called nobody. Yeah. That's how it happened.
Yeah. He tried the whole group thing once again in 2000 when he teamed up with former En Vogue singer Dawn Robinson and Ali Shaheed Muhammad of A Tribe Called Quest to form Lucy Pearl. But things didn't work out, and you can check out our Lucy Pearl video for all the messy details. As of this video, Raphael has received numerous Academy Award and Golden Globe nominations. He has released 5 solo studio albums and has written music for films and TV shows, including the score for HBO's Insecure and the song Tigress and Tweed for the United States vs. Billie Holiday. He has worked with some amazing artists as well, including Whitney Houston, D'Angelo, Mary J. Blige, Khalees, The Roots, and the Bee Gees. While working with English musician Joss Stone on her 3rd album, rumors emerged that they were an item. Their relationship raised a few eyebrows since Joss was 19 at the time and Raphael was 40. Joss and Raphael both denied the rumors in separate interviews. He's never been married and he doesn't have any children, and of course that leads many people to be curious about his relationship history. During his 2019 interview with the Anna Sale podcast, he admitted his mom always wanted him to date Janet Jackson, Whitney Houston, or any woman that had something of her own. And over time, Raphael realized he wasn't interested in being with someone that was all about material possessions. Although he likes to keep his personal life private, there's one woman that he has publicly claimed, and her name is Carolyn Cristiano. We couldn't find any pictures of her, so we're not sure if she even exists. We're just kidding. Sort of. According to Raphael, Carolyn didn't want to get married because she didn't think they needed vows to be committed to each other, and he was fine with her decision. All his life, he was married to music, and he said his girlfriends were his mistresses because they were always in second place. But with Carolyn, he felt like he was married to her in his mind. After 12 years together, they broke up. His father passed away after battling heart failure and dementia. Raphael said he spoke at the funeral, but he refused to view his dad's body, so he left the service early. He got something to eat and then went to the studio to work on music. Because he didn't really process what happened, he said he felt as if his dad was still alive. While working on Solange's 2016 album A Seat at the Table, Raphael said he was going through a very difficult time in his life. He was changing management and was trying to get a bunch of people and crooked accountants out of his life. Normally, he's unable to work when he's feeling down, but he told Believer magazine that Solange allowed him to open up, and she essentially became his muse. Together, they created Magic, which led to Solange receiving her first Grammy Award for Best R&B Performance. After working with Solange, Raphael told Complex magazine that all of the hard times and family tragedies finally caught up with him. He added, "I think it built up and got so heavy that it was one thing I had to get off my chest before it turned into something else." Through the years, he was trying so hard to make everyone happy, especially his parents after his siblings lost their lives. But no one was ever concerned about his happiness. He started reflecting about his brother Jimmy Lee, who had overdosed many years prior. Raphael wondered what his brother's mental state was like at the time. He then wrote a song called Sinner's Prayer from the imagined perspective of his brother, where he pleads for God's help and his family's understanding. Eventually, Raphael decided to make an entire album dedicated to his late brother, and it was released in 2019. The music became his form of therapy. 2020 was yet another difficult year for Raphael after his mom suffered a stroke, a heart attack, and memory loss, and he was unable to visit her because of the pandemic. He also contracted COVID, which caused some minor delays with his work. In 2021, he announced that the original members of Toni were reuniting and working on new music. Raphael said he was looking forward to sharing their music with new fans and their day one supporters. Although he still hasn't booked a professional therapy session, he's more open to talking about the past and discussing working through the grief if interviewers bring up the topic. He told Tidal.com, "I'm ready for the questions, but the answers are changing every day."